Hello everyone, I'm Kat from the Littlestown Library of the Adams County Library System, and welcome to today's tiny art for adults and teens. I know the event has passed, but we are still going to do a painting of a total solar eclipse. Okay, so that is what we are going to be painting today. If you signed up for an art kit, then you will receive the following: one blank 4x4 canvas, a tiny easel, one paintbrush, a small circular stencil, and paint pots with the following colors: white, black, red, yellow, and dark blue. So that is what you will receive if you signed up for an art kit. If you did not sign up for an art kit, you are more than welcome to use whatever art supplies that you have at home. I do recommend that you also get some paper towels, both to clean your brush and also to put down so that way paint doesn't get everywhere. You also should have some kind of container to put water in to clean your brush between colors. If you have an actual paint palette, you are welcome to use that. These are super cheap. You can get them from the dollar store. Or if you have like a paper plate or a plastic lid that doesn't go to anything, any of those will work because we will be doing a little bit more of color mixing. And I also recommend that you have a pencil because you might need that in order to trace the circle stencil in case you decide to go that route. So, without further ado, let's get painting. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is to take your stencil, your round stencil, and decide where on the canvas you want to have the eclipse happening. Like, do you want it kind of up here in the corner? Do you want it in the center? You know, do you kind of want it down low? Do you want it up high? You know, where do you want it? It doesn't really matter where you put it as long as it's not too close to any of the edges, because we do have some stuff down here that we'll be doing to kind of give it some scale. So I'm going to put mine kind of up here towards the top right corner, but not like super close. Just to offset it a little, because I know a lot of my previous pictures, previous paintings have had like the circular thing like right dead center, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with having things centered, but it's not quite as visually engaging as it is when things are like slightly offset. Your eye kind of follows it a little bit more, so it's all up to you how you want to do it. So now for this next part, you can either use a piece of tape on the back of your stencil to hold it down while you're painting, or if you want, you can go ahead and trace it and then take the stencil off. I'm going to trace because I think that might be a little bit easier. Whoops, there goes my easel. So I'm going to do a stencil and just trace around it. Okay, so I'll take that off, and then I'm gonna put that back up so you can actually see what I'm doing. And so you can see there's where my eclipse is, the main part of the eclipse is going to be. A little bit later we will be doing kind of an offset as well. which we can either, if you're not going to get confused, you can go ahead and trace that now, or you can wait until later, and then we'll put the stencil back on and trace again. So whichever way you want to do it, if you're not taping the stencil down to cover up that section, then just be careful when you're painting that you don't get paint inside the lines there, because we want to keep that blank. We want to keep that white. So next thing we're going to do is we are going to dampen our brush just a little bit, and then we are going to put some red in a couple places over here, and then not a whole lot, just some there, and then we're going to clean our brush and get some yellow and put some yellow in some places here and around the edge here. I think I've got a hair in there. Yep, I have a hair. There we go. Let's get rid of that. And if you want, you can kind of go ahead and do the yellow like right around the edge of the stencil ahead of time if you would like, because that's going to be kind of the glow there, which I'm just going to go ahead and do that now, so that way, and that way I'm using some of the extra yellow that's on my brush. So we'll just go ahead and do that right around the edge there, and then clean our brush again so we're not mixing colors, and then we're going to get some of our blue and put that over here. Okay, and remember to get the sides of your canvas, like if you want to use some of the excess, like I've got like rather thick sides on my canvas, so I'm using that to kind of get rid of some of the extra blue. And then we're going to start mixing the colors. So with the lighting, things look like the red looks kind of pink on here, so I apologize for that. I have yet to find a perfect like lighting solution. So now we're just going to go ahead and we are going to do the red, kind of mix it with the yellow a bit. And so it's going to be like a red-orange kind of look over here. And we might need some more yellow in there to make it more orange and less red in some spots. And just remember that especially with kind of like a skyline kind of thing going on, like you don't have to do it exactly the same way as me. Everything is very very kind of ish. You can you know, add as little or as much as you want. Just remember that like yellow and white will make it lighter, and then you know, the red will make it darker. So again, I'm gonna get the sides. Sorry, I'm just adjusting my light a little, seeing if I can get any kind of, yeah, my canvas looks kind of yellowish for some reason, but I swear this is still white. One of these days I will get like a proper lighting setup for this. Okay, so yeah, so you want to have the lighter like orange kind of closer to the sun there, and then kind of a little bit darker on the edges. And then we're going to get clean our brush and then go ahead and do the same with the blue, and down here kind of mix maybe a little bit of red in, because they are going to kind of mix a little. And remember again to get the edges. So the red and the blue mixing is going to give kind of like a dark purplish sort of thing. And that's okay. Again, we will smooth a lot of this out. The yellow mixing may create a little bit of a green, and that is okay. If you want things to blend a little bit more, you can always rinse your brush and then just have it a little bit damp and then kind of mix things a little bit. You just want to make sure that it's not too strong. Otherwise, it'll dilute a little bit too much. So we're just gonna clean my brush again, get a little bit of yellow in here. Because again, even though with an eclipse, even though the sun is being blocked by the moon, the sun is insanely powerful and insanely bright. So even with it blocked or mostly blocked, you are still going to have sun rays kind of coming out. So it's still going to show through that. And it's just a matter of getting the right amount of balance between the two. And again, it's okay if things look a little messy at this point. That is okay. It is just a matter of we're going to be mixing a lot, and again, the sky is going to be messy, so if you have things a little all over the place, that is fine. I think I'm getting a little bit too much red down here, and there's always ways you can just cover things up, so it's not a problem if you end up deciding, oh wait, I had too much. So again, just don't neglect the sides of your canvas. Alrighty, and I'm gonna go ahead and put a little more of the yellow around here. And you can always kind of go like this to kind of get the feeling of the rays. Sort of going around. I'd be careful going from the blue into the red though, because as you can see, that kind of creates some darker streaks, and we don't want too many of those on this side. So you're going to have roughly, your canvas is going to be roughly half blue, half orange as it falls down. As the world falls down. Kudos to anyone who knows that song reference, or that movie reference, I should say. Okay, so, and remember, while it's wet, you might not be able to do as much with it that you might like, because everything is going to be blending. So if like you have a little bit too much, or you feel like you have a little bit too much like orange and not enough blue, that is totally fine. You can always wait until it's dry, and then we can paint over it a bit. So, but again, you're going to roughly have half blue, half orange, with the yellow kind of going around the middle. So we're going to let that dry completely until before we go on to the next step. So that way, if we need to do touch-ups to make things work a little bit better, we can certainly do that. Or if we need to like repaint over something because it's not quite working, that we can do that too, and add more layers. So we're gonna let that dry completely. Depending on how much paint you have on it, it can take anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes. Letting it dry, letting it sit a little bit longer, just so that way we're sure it dries, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so now that that has dried, you're going to get your stencil out again, and this time we're going to slightly offset it from what it was previously. So you see it'll leave like this little like sliver right along here. So what we're going to do is we are going to lay this down, and maybe you can see the edge a little bit better. So decide how much of the offset you want it to be. If you want it to be offset a lot, if you want it to be offset just a little, I would recommend we're just going to kind of do just a little bit here. So what I'm going to do is going to use the pencil and trace again all the way around. And now you can hopefully see that we have a sliver here for the Eclipse. And just so that way we don't lose where we're at, we are going to take our black and we are going to fill in the Eclipse where the moon is. So we're going to take that. And just remember to be very careful along the edge. Shoot. Because we want to keep the edge white. I mean, if it's a little bit ragged, that's okay, because the moon is not a perfect sphere. It does have, you know, craters and imperfections and everything. We just want to try to get it as close as possible. And we will be painting some more to indicate like the light and such. So we'll be able to take care of that. So we're going to be painting over a little bit of the yellow that we laid down before. But that's okay, that's the point. And hopefully you can actually see where that edge is, because my pencil did not show up very well on the opposite side there. But just do the best you can. Alrighty, so you can see there we have our moon in front of the sun. And so what we're going to do next is we're going to do like some various touch-ups and things along the edges or along the rest of the background to kind of make it a little bit more cloud-like and less just blotches. So we're actually going to do a little bit of color mixing. So you'll, because that's the beauty of working with like yellow, red, and blue. Those are the primaries, primary colors when it comes to working in paint. So you can make pretty much any other color and any other shade of color if you have red, yellow, and blue. You know, you add some white and black and then you get nice mixes. So if you take some yellow and some red and even add a little bit of white, then you can get a lighter kind of pinkish orange to kind of go along some areas. You probably can't tell a whole lot of difference there, so I'm going to add a little bit more white and a little bit more yellow. So you'll have there, hopefully you can tell a little bit better, and that'll kind of go around here. Because again, the light of the sun is very powerful, and it's going to be coming through there. And then we can have a couple lighter bits down here. Because again, we kind of want some cloud-ish sort of things going on. And then we can clean our brush again, and because just remember, whenever you're mixing colors, you want to make sure that you clean your brush in between various mixings, because you don't want to mix together colors that you didn't actually want. So we can also get some blue and red. To make a dark purplish kind of color. But I'm going to sneak a little bit of white in there just to lighten it up a little bit. So we have this color kind of up here in the corner and kind of streaking in here. We've got some streaks in here. Again, kind of making it look, we have some in here, because again, where there's atmosphere, there's clouds, there's different, you have different levels of atmosphere and things that are going on. So you want to, the sky is not static. It is not a static thing. So that's why we are adding some other bits to it. And then if you want it darker again, you can always add a little bit more blue to the mixture and kind of have that in there. Kind of connecting the two. And we have some of that up here. Sorry, my canvas is kind of bopping around here. So yeah, so maybe... Yeah, sorry with my light. I'm trying to get it so you can kind of get an idea without the glare of what's kind of going on there. And we got some others down there. We also want to get some blue and white together to make nice light blue. So we're gonna put that in a couple spots. Again, just kind of mixing it in, and again we can get some darker blue in there. Though using the straight up blue at this point you might not want to do, so you might want to mix a little bit more of the purple red in there just to ease it up a little bit. Again, it can kind of look however you want it to. There's no real like right or wrong answer. The sky is a very interesting place, so it is okay to have some, you know, things just kind of going on in the sky, and you can adjust it. If you're like, nah, that doesn't look quite right, then you can, you know, mix that in. And again, kind of have some other, you can kind of like pat in there. Yeah, it's just at this point we're trying to make it look more more blotchy. And I'm gonna get a little bit more of the light blue. Get some of that in there. And again, don't forget to do the sides. And then we're gonna get some more yellow and orange and kind of do some other lighter bits around the edges. Again, just kind of mixing it up a bit so it doesn't look fake there. And we're gonna get some white and some yellow to make a really light kind of egg yolk, not egg yolk, but closer to egg white, but like a really lighter kind of yellow. And we're gonna kind of add that. Now, if the black is dry enough here, then you can put some of that here. Because the light is going to, from the sun, is going to be shining around the edge of the moon there. So, although we might have to wait in order to really get that, but and if needed, we can always paint over it. Like, that's not a problem. So I'm just smoothing out some of the edges here. And yeah, we might need to add some more straight up white right along here. And again, we probably will have to wait for that to completely dry before we can go any further with that part, because I feel like that might be a little bit too, a little bit too much maybe. But we can also kind of dilute the edges a bit with some of the like light orange, so we can dilute it a little bit, because you got to remember the moon is not smooth. It's not a plain round ball. It has it has craters. There's no atmosphere on the moon, and it doesn't. There's no atmosphere on the moon. It doesn't have very powerful gravity, and it doesn't have an ozone layer or a magnetosphere to protect it from incoming comets and meteorites and things like that. So the surface of the moon is very pitted. It is not a smooth ball. I mean, that's why we have the idea of the man in the moon, because when ancient people looked up at the moon and they saw the various craters and lava plains and things like that, they thought that it formed a face, and that's where we get the idea of the man in the moon. So we're going to add some other colors while that's kind of like drying a little bit. The rest of this should be more or less dry. So we're going to get a little bit of that like dark red and red-purple mixture. And we're going to add some texture to the moon. We're going to go along the side because, again, also it's not a flat sphere, it has dimension, so we're going to use some of that dark reddish purple to go along the edge, the far edge of the moon, to kind of, and also give a couple like spots there, and then a little bit lighter red closer to where the light is to indicate that the light is shining more brightly there. So, and it might be a little bit difficult to see, but there's on my screen here, but there are like other splotches now, and I'm getting a little bit of the lighter like red-orange, and we're gonna kind of do a little bit here. And adding a little bit more red to it. And again, if they're too bright, then, which it looks like some of them might be, then we can just get some of the purple and just gently ease that up and make it so it's not quite so stark. So that way you can see the moon has some texture to it. And I'm going to do just a little bit more of the red purple along the edge here. I ran out of my other paper towel, so now I'm using the paper towel that's like around my my canvas to actually clean it. So yeah, so that should kind of give you a decent, we're going to do a little bit of the eggshell right along here. Just again, kind of feathering it a little bit so it's not quite so stark. And then some of the light orange to blend it so it doesn't look, so that way the light's kind of radiating out instead of just kind of sitting there. So get some more of and again, you can always, just make sure your brush is clean and wet it and kind of do some other blending if you want. Again, if there's any areas that you're like, yeah, I really don't care for that, or that doesn't look quite right to me, that's totally fine. You can go ahead and do that and change that up a bit. I am going to add some stars. So if you have like a toothbrush that no one uses, that's a really good way to do this. If not, then you can use the side of your brush. So you want to make sure that you have some white that hasn't been mixed with anything, so it's just plain white. And you want to make sure your brush is clean, and we're going to be doing this. We're going to put some paint on the ends, and then we're going to flick it, basically, on the canvas. Make sure you don't have anything that you're worried about getting paint on nearby, because this does tend to kind of go all over the place. So there we go. And you can always add a few larger ones if you really want. And you see some of it did get on the moon, and that is okay, because we can always just touch it up with a little bit, like some of it's fine, but then we can always just touch up the spots that we don't want with some of the black. Or the dark, like reddish. You can do that too. But that way you've got like some stars coming out, and some of the what looks like white on there is actually just the shine from the camera. So what we're going to do then, since all this down here should be dry, and I am pretty happy like with my like cloudish backgrounds and everything, now what we're going to do next is once your brush is clean, then you're going to go ahead and get your black again, and we are going to do some, as Bob Ross says, happy little trees. So I usually do like a line down to kind of give me like sort of a guide, and then turn your brush like this, and you might need to add a little bit more paint, but also hold your canvas steady, and then just tap, and that will give you pine trees. And I apologize if you can't see very well. It's a little bit difficult when your camera's like right above where you're working. So I've got another tree over here. And I recommend like varying the heights a bit and stuff, you know, because trees aren't all uniform. So, you know, have a couple. Oh, that was a lot of paint. Probably need to spread that around, but you know, kind of just something like that. Maybe add some paint over here. You can use like a sponge, or if you have like a feathering brush, there is like a specific brush that's like really good for this, but obviously I can't include every single brush that you might need in the art kits, so we kind of just have to make do with what we got. So remember, go off the edge, so that way the trees seem like they're still going. And also going to kind of indicate that there's sort of a cliff or something here. So we're going to kind of that across the bottom, and you can make it as, you know, tall or small as you want. If you want a couple other little happy twees in the distance. Happy twees, woo! And then just kind of, whoops, sorry, I keep hitting my camera there. You know, just kind of so that way, and look at that. I think we have a pretty impressive solar eclipse somewhere out in, like, I don't know, the Midwest somewhere, or the Rockies, or somewhere where there's actually trees and mountains. But there you go. So, and let's see, is there anything else we need to do on the eclipse itself? Like get a little bit more white right in there. There we go. Yeah, no, I think, and you can see because there's the glow and there's the stars and the sky and everything. So I think that turned out very well. So if you want to keep messing with it, you certainly can if you would like. But part of being an artist is also knowing when to stop. And I believe that if I go any further, I will ruin what I've created. So I'm going to stop here. And I hope that most of you got the chance to actually witness the solar eclipse. I know that our painting here is taking place after it, but I hope that you got the chance to see it, and that it was a cool experience. And hopefully you also enjoyed painting our own version of an eclipse. So thank you so much for joining us for our A Tiny Art for Adults and Teens, and we will hopefully see you next time.